you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Folks, Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, the Iron Lady sings and that makes it official. Welcome to the big show. What else can you say about everything that we have going on? It's just the most wildest stuff that you can ever come up with here. And as always, the Chris Voss Show, we keep trucking along at 16 years, going on 2,600 episodes.
Millions of downloads. Can't be wrong.
Can't be wrong. We couldn't do it without you guys. So go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTokity, all those crazy places on the internet. Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind. Terry, amazing young, prolific multi-book author on the show. We're going to be talking about his insights, his books, and everything else that we can get into with him on all of those details. So we're going to be talking to him about all that. And we're going to be talking about his first book today. It is called A Time Like No Other, My Journey, 1946 to 1967. And Ken Ran is going to be joining us on the show. We're going to get into it with him, his insights, and everything else. And welcome to the show, Ken. How are you?
Thanks, Chris. I'm doing pretty good.
Thank you. You've got a lot of books you've written. Give us your .coms. How can people find you on the interwebs? And how many books do you have?
My .com is a .net because my name was taken already by some guy who doesn't have my name. So it's Ken Rand, KENRAND.net. That's my website. And I think we're going on five books now.
Congratulations. You're an award-winning math instructor and author who, after 47 years of teaching, retired in 2015. Your experiences include a variety of education levels, beginning in the junior high schools in the Bronx, New York, and then high schools in White Plains, New York, and then 2- and 4-year colleges in California. So tell us about this book, A Time Like No Other.
I'll start from the beginning. I was going on a bus trip up to Cache Creek Casino with my wife. And it was early in the morning, and I was trying to get to sleep on the bus, and the radio was playing some songs from the 50s and 60s. And those songs, like Pretty Woman, other great songs, and they brought me back. I couldn't sleep. I just started to reminisce about my teenage years. And then for some reason, I started to think about my sons know a lot about me, but they don't know anything about me before they were born. So I started to think that this would be a great legacy for them to tell them about my growing years. And the more I started to write the stories and the more that people read them, they said, this is a book. This is definitely a book, and you need to share it with not only people in your generation, but anyone can identify it because we all go through the same type of things.
Oh, yeah. Now, why did you name it the best times there, the most important times, as it were?
It was such a different time to be brought up. There were no computers. There were no cell phones. People actually talked to each other. We wrote letters to each other. Life was very different. We all felt safe. My mom used to leave me outside in front of our apartment in a carriage when I was about 1 year old. People would come along and tickle me and do all that stuff. And she was never worried that I was going to be stolen or taken or whatever. And food was a big difference. Food tasted differently for some reason. The water we didn't. If you had come up to somebody in the 1950s and tell them that they're going to be buying water someday, they would have freaked out.
That's very true. I still find it shocking to this day.
Yeah, me too.
We pay for water, and we're so proud of it too. We're like, oh, I bought water, and you're like, that's not the way.
I bought the most expensive water.
Bought the most expensive water, and really it is just purified tap water. Yeah. So yeah, it was a time like no other. I mean, it was a post-war boom sort of era, and
we were called the baby boomers. Yeah.
So 1946, right after the end of the World War II, and people were kind of enjoying. The soldiers came back with their GI Bills and their money to spend on college and housing, and Levittown started growing and became that thing where we just started paving over the world.
Yeah, there was a large population boom after that.
Oh yeah, you guys were busy back then.
Our parents were.
Time. It is a time like no other now, because we have declining population and people aren't marrying and having kids and everything else. No one likes each other anymore, evidently.
Can I tell you a quick story?
Please.
Okay, I got a phone call. I was very concerned in my book that I wouldn't be reaching today's generation to get them to read it. And I got a phone call yesterday from a former student who was laughing as he was talking to me. And I said, "What's going on?" And Josh, he said, "I was just reading a part of your book." And he's like 30, 40 years younger than me. And he said, "I was laughing so loud that my wife and my daughter came into the room and wanted to know what I was laughing about. It was one of your stories about you growing up." And that's heartwarming for me.
Oh, well, isn't that lovely?
Yeah.
Now, one thing you should know, Ken, I noticed on the Amazon listing for this, they have the dates as My Journey 1946 to 1947.
I know. So I'm trying to get that fixed.
Yeah. If you have an author page set up with KDP, it's kind of a separate section of an Amazon. It's actually a whole different site, but it's still Amazon. But if you get your author page picked up, which I think you have, because I see your bio here in your profile, if you contact someone through that, someone from Amazon should be able to help you.
Yeah, I'm in the process of doing that. Yeah, I've been writing some letters and stuff.
Because I was looking at it thinking, did I read that wrong on the intro?
But you're only the second person to see that.
Yeah, I tend to notice that to help out the authors we have on the show. So you wanted your people to know about this time, this journey, and what Americana was maybe like at that point. And Time of Innocence, it's labeled as by historians. Many feel it was the greatest generation. It was definitely a great time. It was a lot of people want to go back to that time. Is that really a time we should return to after all the advancements in science and mobile phones and crazy things are up to?
Well, that's the dilemma, isn't it? It's kind of disheartening when you go to a restaurant and you see half the people on their phones, not talking to each other.
Whole families just each have their own phone and
right. It's
a zombie.
It's a struggle to even your own family. No cell phones while we're eating or things like that. So that's a negative part of today's, not generation, but what's going on. Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think we need to go back to the past, but it seems like because if you live in the past, there's no future.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but you need the past to remind you of how good things were then, and to give you directions for the future. That's my philosophy.
Yeah, we often say on the show, the one thing man can learn from his history is that man never learns from his history, and thereby we go round and round. So yeah, you definitely need to know your history, and there's certainly a, maybe it's funny. I've often learned, because I've always, I have pretty memorable memories of places in my history, in my past, in my youth that I loved. Sometimes going back to cities that I lived in 40, 50 years before. And, the one thing I found is, well, it's nice to go back. You can never really go home. It just never, you have these memories and maybe those memories are still wonderful, but man, when you go back home, you're like, wow, this place where what the hell are things really changed. And, sometimes you might think, well, maybe it wasn't as good as I thought it was. Now I kind of remember some stuff that was going on here.
Yeah, I holding on to those memories, I think, is good. I really do. I lecture to students now at colleges and high schools and junior high schools, and my main lecture to them is making a choice. And one of those choices is living in the past or going ahead to the future. But, and I say at the same time, I don't want you to give up your heritage and your good memories. But, the past can really hold you back, because that's all we know is our past.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then, the future is going to come whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
There's one of my favorite lines is from the movie No Country for Old Men. And Tommy, I forget his name.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones is standing there. He's in the trailer of the house of his uncle, I think it is. Mm-hmm. And his uncle's in the wheelchair. And I forget the name of the uncle, but really amazing actor. And he's talking to Tommy, and he says, what you got, son, ain't nothing new. This country's hard on people. But you can't stop what's coming. That's vanity. And that really sticks to me. You know, we sometimes get in these vain loops where we're like, oh, if we can only go back to this, you know, if we can only go back to when eggs prices were cheaper and everything, and, you know, all that stuff that we get hung up on. And, you know, sometimes the good times weren't always good. Sometimes the bad weren't as bad as they seemed. I think that's a lyric from a rock and roll song.
My book about I show you pictures of our family. We look like the all-American family, and it just wasn't so. And that's part of what I wanted to reveal. It's a very candid book about not only the good times, but the bad times and the tragic times. And we were the only generation to go through the possibility of not being alive the next day. With the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Cuban Missile Crisis. I mean, I remember those days growing up as a child, cowering under my desk. You know, because they were supposed those old steel asbestos desks or whatever was in them were supposed to save us from the nuclear bombs from Russia.
Well, you do remember that?
Yeah, I do. I remember thinking, I don't know this is going to work if the USSR drops a bomb on me.
It's funny now, but I remember being in the hall in the high school at what was it? 9:45 a.m. and the Russian ships were supposed to cross the blockade about 10:05, and you know the entire school is in the hallway. And when they stopped going to the blockade, there's a roar that could be heard from miles around from everybody's in the hallway. It was just incredible.
That was a hell of a detente.
It was scared.
It was a scary time. I mean, it was. And in fact, if it wasn't, I believe it wasn't for John F. Kennedy's wisdom, and he kind of learned a little bit from the Bay of Pigs fiasco, that we might have been at war, because the Russians were pretty intent on what they wanted to take and do. And this was before a time, of course, where there's like a hot phone that goes between the White House and Russia. Evidently, we didn't have that back then. So we were kind of, you know, it was kind of who won that one.
I clearly remember thinking that I am dreaming that night that I may be dead the next day.
Yeah. There was a lot of that sort of feelings that went on during that time. I mean, you lived with it up until what, 89, and even then, those nukes really weren't ever held down in the UK after the USSR after they fell. So let's go, if you want, let's wander into your other book that we mentioned at the beginning of the show that we were going to get into. The book entitled, let me see if I can get this pulled up here real quick. I've got too many tabs going on. The book entitled One Student at a Time, A Teacher's Journey. Tell us about this book.
This book is actually a continuation, even though I wrote it before, a continuation of A Time Like No Other, because that ends in 1967. And in 1967, I became a teacher in New York City. And it's even hard to explain how incredible those 47 years were. I mean, teaching in junior high school in New York City, I'm 21 years old. My students are 6 years younger than me. And I don't know how to teach. I just didn't.
Oh, wow.
I went to college for 2 months before. After graduating college, I went to graduate school. And it was like a train going through, like they tried to get us through to get us a license because we're the shortest of teachers. But the stories are incredible, especially those in the Bronx and then high school and college. So over 47 years, I accumulated so many heartwarming, tragic, funny stories. I witnessed a miracle in the classroom, and I think it was a religious miracle where a student who could not read learned how to read because of the students around him who helped him. And it was just, I cried my heart out while I was in the front of the room watching it. And I stopped a gang war in front of the school. I took a gun off a student in the school. I foolishly ran down a 6'5", 250-pound intruder in the school. Wow. And I still can't put my jacket on right.
Well, you sounds like you had quite the impact, though, as a teacher, because teachers tend to have an impact to students that a lot of students remember them for a lifetime.
Yeah, I was very lucky. My whole goal was to connect and engage with my students, to make them feel like they, I know I'm a teacher, but students are brought up thinking that we have there's no other life, that we're teachers 100% of the time, and it's not true. We have normal lives and we have normal feelings. And so I did that to connect with my students, and they would know I'm a quote unquote normal person. I was anything but normal in the classroom. In fact, I almost got fired 5 times in my first year.
Wow.
For doing crazy things like playing Monopoly in the classroom and taking on my students on unauthorized trips to their houses and stuff like that. So it was a crazy time. But then I went I worked for a publisher after 10 years, and that happened because they convinced me that reaching 100,000 or 200,000 students would be more effective as a teacher than reaching the thousands of students, 1,000, 2,000 students I was having over a 10-year period. So, I worked for a math publisher, and then I missed teaching so much. I went back into it. I went back to teach the high school, and I wanted my parents to see my son growing up because we were in California. Mm-hmm. And so we went back to New York. I got a job at White Plains High School. So now I'm teaching it on a different level. And I'm wondering, will my gimmicks, my tricks, my activities work? And they did. And then I went to California. Oh, I have to tell you this experience.
Okay. Yeah, please do. Yeah, we sure do.
All right. I'm at a community college in California, and I've never taught a community college class, but I'm in charge of what they call the math lab, where students come for extra help. And I get asked by the dean of the math department to cover for a teacher, math teacher. So this is my first experience ever in a college classroom. And again, these are not like the junior high school kids or even high school kids. These are, 19, 20, 21, some of them even 50, 60 years old. So I'm thinking, is this going to work? Because my personality for junior high school and high school is one thing. Will it work in college? And I got to tell you, Chris, that after 50 minutes in that room, I felt like I had died and gone to teaching heaven. It was incredible.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so I spent the next 36 years teaching community college.
Teachers are the greatest things that we have in society, and we need to appreciate them more. My mother was a teacher for 25 years. My sister was a teacher. She's always honored when she has people come up to her, that are fully grown now and they have their own families, and they're like, Mrs. Voss, we remember, you was a teacher and you inspired me to do this, and I had a better life. And yeah, boy, those moments of changing the world and leaving the world in a better place are invaluable.
There's nothing more rewarding. Absolutely nothing. It's impossible.
Yeah.
And you said, students come up to you years after. Where I live right now in California, by sheer coincidence, I've met 4 of my former students. But the amazing thing about it is that each encounter with them, they all told me, Mr. Ray, we were talking about you last night, and here am I speaking with you today. I mean, this is 20, 30 years later.
It's funny. I don't know if you've had this. You probably have, for all the teaching you've done. My mom's had a few people come up to her and they tell her, oh, I was in your class. I was so-and-so. And she's thinking in her head, oh, you were that one. you were I was sure you were going to end up in prison. And they're like, I loved you. And she's sitting there thinking, I'm pretty sure you hated me and I hated you. And but they gush over her and they tell her how wonderful they remember. And I have customers that do that to me every now and then. They'll have a bad experience, usually over a bad employee doing some stupid, and so I'll fix it. But they'll be swearing at me and telling me how horrible you are, and I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna fix it. We're gonna make it so that you're happy. And then when I get done making them happy, they usually go off and they're, oh, thanks. And they go off, but they're still kind of angry, and I can't blame them. And I'm like, well, we'll probably never see them again. And then they'll come back year after year to remortgage their home, and they'll tell me how great their experience was. And I'll be like, I remember you. That was for me to talk.
I have a quick story again.
Please do.
Yeah. All right. While I was teaching on the first day of class, I would pass out an index card to get some information about my students. I would do a whole slideshow about me, but now I want to know about them. And I asked them, why are they taking this algebra class or whatever class it was at this particular time in my life? And the next day I would read back some of their cards, because I would read the cards at night. And you're the only math teacher I haven't tried yet, because I failed 4 times before. And this is my favorite. It says, my mom took you, and now I'm already thinking, oh my God, my mom took you and she said you were great and I had to take you. And now I'm thinking in front of the classroom, I said, if I teach long enough, someone's going to say, my grandmother took you. It's not something I want to have happen,
Or you have a Mari experience. You teach long enough, they're like, wait, you're my kid? No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, that might be funny. I don't know. The one thing people always ask me, what do you want to accomplish in life? What do you want to do? And I would like to leave the world better than I found it, in a better place. Now, that's not probably going to happen with me, but it'll probably happen with you, because you're teaching people and educating them and getting them all involved in this stuff there.
Yeah.
So what do you hope people come away with reading your second book, or both books together, maybe?
It's pretty much the same reaction I would want from the first book. It's because I want them to come away not only with a history of the times, but I want them to be moved. I think any author who writes a book wants their readers to be moved, and they could be a warm moment, a sad moment, a funny moment, and that's all I want. I want them to be engaged with me as I was engaged with my students. In fact, the best compliment my readers give me is that they feel like they're talking to me when they read my book.
Wow. And so it sounds like it's done well and in your voice and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And then do we want to tease out maybe the other books you have? What are some of the other books you have people might be interested in looking at?
I did a follow-up to One Student at a Time, and I called it One Teacher at a Time. I could show it to you here.
Uh-huh.
Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, One Student at a Time isn't about how to teach. Although teachers can get something from what I did and how I handled my students, or how they handled me. But I wanted to, after 47 years, I think I have some knowledge of what works and what doesn't work. So I wrote this book with another author she was Teacher of the Year in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
And her name is Kim Thomas. So I wanted a guide for teachers to use all the activities and games and engagements and connecting with how to do that with students, without losing discipline and, maintaining control. Because if you lose discipline and lose control, then nothing works. So,
yeah.
And then, you ready for this? I got to plug this.
All right. And what is that?
That's Afterwards. It's a book I wrote about 1978. I went on a binge and invented 7 word games. New games. Which, what's sad about this is that in 1978, I invented Wordle.
Oh, wow. Holy crap, dude.
I don't want to look through the pages, but I invented Wordle, and it was for 2 people, not for one.
Uh-huh.
And half the games that are in this book are now on your phone. Not that I put them there.
Maybe you should, have an attorney call somebody for copyright.
I don't know. I tried that. It'd be more expensive than it would be worth.
That's probably true. There's probably some, I don't know, but that's pretty amazing.
One more book. Okay, here's another one.
Second Chances.
Yeah, this is actually an anthology of 23 stories from 23 authors from around the world. Wow. We're all given second chances. And I've been given not a second chance, not a third, not a fourth, but at least 5 life-threatening chances in my life.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Do you want to tease one of those out to us?
Excuse me?
Do you want to tease one of those life-threatening experiences out to us?
With me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. 2005. I own a baseball card store. I'm working 2 jobs. I had a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
On the way to the hospital, I died.
Holy crap.
I flatlined. And they put one of those defibrillator devices on. And they brought me back to life.
Wow.
And that was I kept saying when I was awake, I say, I'm not ready to die yet. I have some books to write. I'm serious. This is what I was saying. And my son is the one who drove me to the hospital. He says, don't worry, you're going to live. You're going to live. And then, but in the ambulance, that's when I flatlined. But Chris, that happened not once, but 4 times.
4 times. Now, was that on the same day or different?
No, they were years apart. 2005, 2016, and 2020 during COVID twice.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, I don't want to talk about that. I mean, that's all in my past, and that's a past. I'm just lucky I'm alive. I'm very happy, and God's good to me.
No more heart attacks. You've already used up your 4.
I have a defibrillator right now. I don't know if you can hear it beating.
Oh, you do? You've got it. Is it one of those internal things?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's good. My dad had one of those internal defibrillators. Yeah. Heart, I forget. Anyway.
Pacemaker?
Yeah. And he had a heart attack. That thing, he was asleep at the time. And so it was probably good it went off because he might have passed in his sleep like my uncle did.
Oh, wow.
His brother. But he said that thing lit him up, and he went from dead sleep to standing up beside the bed.
I don't want to experience that.
I'm like, that thing shocks you that hard? He goes, yep, lifted me right off the bed, and I was standing on my 2 feet. Went from dreaming to...
That's something I never want to experience.
Heart racing, but he would have probably died in his sleep. He was having a lot of strokes and heart attacks there at the end, and it doesn't sound like fun, but at least you're alive at that point.
It works.
It's kind of a miraculously, but I just went through surgery Friday for hernias, and I went through a lot of shit and post-op and healing, but at least I'm alive. I won that battle. Sometimes that's what life's about.
My next book, if I write another book, I need to take a break for now. But I owned a sports store, baseball cards and so on. And there are amazing stories from that experience. Again, I did that while I was teaching, which probably led to the first heart attack. But I got held up at gunpoint.
Oh, wow.
In the store. And I'm not going to go too much into it. I want people to read about it. But I will never believe eyewitness identification again.
Oh, really?
Never. It's too much trauma. The guy's 2 feet in front of me with a gun that's 12 inches long, and I couldn't identify who it was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, you've written a lot of books. You've inspired a lot of people. You've helped a lot of folks and done a lot of things. Anything more coming up on the horizon there?
Well, I just had a great last Saturday. I had a book launch party where my friends and neighbors and relatives came, and about 5 of my former students and 5 of my colleagues and all my neighbors and friends of where I live, and my in-laws and came, and so on. My family's on the East Coast. And so that was a great time. We had 50 chairs there, and it was standing room only in the back. And I made people laugh, which is what I want to do. My next thing is going to be this Saturday. I'm going to be at Barnes & Noble in Gilroy, California. And I'll be signing books there, and a lot of my books will be on the table. So I'm looking forward to that. And then after that, I'm going to rest. This is going to be a good holiday for me.
Enjoy that holiday. Enjoy it with your family and all that sort of good stuff. Well, as we go out, give people final pitch outs to pick up your books, any.coms, where they can find you on the interwebs.
No, I just encourage them to visit my website, kenrand.net, and email me at kenbbcetc@aol.com. By the way, on my website, kenrand.net, I'll say that 5 times, there are some bonus chapters that people can read without buying the book. So
get those bonus chapters, people. Get involved in all that sort of good stuff, as it were. So thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, Ken. Thank you. And thanks for sharing.
You're off. I appreciate it.
No, that's the role of the podcast, is to talk our ear offs and get to know all this amazing data and stuff and journey that you've been through in your life, and share it with other people. Folks, pick up the book wherever fine books are sold. A Time Like No Other, My Journey 1946 to 1967, and Ken's other books, and stay in touch with him for his future offerings. Thanks so much for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss. Chris Voss won the TikTok and all the crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.
All right. There